sure in some ways we can identify with in our own lives, because we've all experienced these storms at various times. We've all experienced the fact that God seemed more like a ghost than a reality, especially when we were in extreme distress. But Jesus invites us to remember three things. First of all, Jesus says to us, as he said to those apostles who were in that boat that seemed like it was going to sink, Jesus says to us, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have fears. We all have fears. But it means that we should not let fear have us. As a prominent evangelical preacher once said, you can be in the storm, but don't let the storm get into you. So that's the first important thing. We have to ask God to help us, not to let the fears have us, paralyze us, disable us from doing whatever it is that God wants us to do amidst the storms of life. And secondly, Jesus challenges Peter and us to get out of the boat, our place of security. Our Holy Father Francis, in his emphasis on the need for evangelization and re-evangelization, and our Bishop Larry, in his emphasis proclaimed in the pastoral letter, Stewards of the Gospel, have challenged us to get out of the boat. That means to get out of our place of security, to go beyond the walls of the church, to reach out to others in the name of Christ, and to invite them to join us here. And it's not easy to get out of the boat, because we all have our own little comfort zone. We all have our own little way of doing things that we feel is very comfortable. And we don't want to rock the boat, if you will. We don't want to get out there. We don't want to extend ourselves because sometimes we fear like we're going to be rejected. But if our eyes are fixed on Jesus, like Peter, we could even walk on water. But if we take our eyes off Jesus, like Peter did, then we'll begin to falter. So we need to get out of the boat and keep our eyes on Jesus. And finally, it's very instructive to note in the gospel that even Jesus had to pray. This is the second person of the Blessed Trinity. But it says here in the gospel, not just here, a couple other places too, it says he went off and spent the night in prayer. So if Jesus needed to spend time in prayer, I think we need it even more. We need to pray. We need to pray so that we can deal with the stormy seas. And if we quiet ourselves enough in the midst of that storm, we too will hear God passing by.